Konoha, top psychiatrist, fixing ninja trauma, from Tsunade to Obito. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 21. An unconscious cry of pain came from Uchiha Makoto's mouth, causing Bei Yan, who was assisting on the side, to frown. Uchiha Aki, on the other hand, looked at Uchiha Makoto worriedly, his gaze wandering between Katayan and the people he served. Soon, Bei Yan stretched his brows. Don't worry, it's just a normal situation under acceleration. Bei Yan had expected this. The pupil power tempered on weekdays, and Makoto Uchiha sweated profusely after experiencing it, and the whole person looked a little weak. It can be imagined that the tempering that Uchiha Makoto has experienced in it is not easy. Nowadays, this tempering method is accelerated and the dose is increased, and the increase in pain is inevitable. Makoto Uchiha is not as systematic as Bei Yan and can evolve painlessly. I still have to thank Lord Bei Yan, if you open your eyes according to the only kaleidoscope of chakra eyes in the clan. Speaking of this, Uchiha Aki did not continue, she was still extremely resistant to that method. Bei Yan knew what Uchiha Yaji was talking about. The only records of the Uchiha family show that if you want to evolve a kaleidoscope, you must let the spirit suffer unprecedented blows and pain. For example, a blood relative with a blade, or seeing one's own blood relative in front of one's own eyes. This is simply an anti-human way of opening eyes. For this extremely hidden record, Uchiha Makoto immediately burned it when she discovered it. He told Bei Yan that he would never use this method to obtain a kaleidoscope chakra eye. Bei Yan didn't say anything at the time, but he found out afterwards that something was wrong. According to the development of Uchiha, the last person to open his eyes should be Uchiha. Of course, it is not ruled out that the rest of the Uchiha people will open the kaleidoscope in these decades, but such an important thing will never be easily recorded in the stacked books. This is a bit intriguing. The great filial piety who has been planning to save his mother for 1,000 years is black. Or is it someone else? As for Uchiha Obito, Bei Yan said that he is still making trouble under Buofeng Shui Men. As long as Noera Rin is alive, it is impossible for him to open the kaleidoscope for the time being. I don't know if there will be this evolutionary kaleidoscope leak there in Uchiha Fugaku. If Uchiha Fugaku knew, would he have directly killed his blood relatives? Bei Yan thought about it, but felt that there was some possibility. You know, according to the plot line, the name of Uchiha Itachi is famous. The son is seriously ill, and the father is definitely not much better. He shook his head, not speculating about the darkness over there for the time being, and focused on dealing with the ascension of Uchiha Makoto in front of him. Time passed quietly, and slowly the time had lasted for 3 hours. Seeing that Uchiha had no money and was as pale as paper, and the sweat on his body was almost soaking the cushion below, Bei Yan knew that Uchiha Makoto had reached the limit. Still failed? After all, I was too anxious. Just as Bei Yan was about to interrupt the tempering of his pupil power, a strange fluctuation of spiritual power, pupil power, and chakra power made his imprinting action stop. Immediately, he looked at Uchiha Makoto, who slowly opened his eyes with a happy face. I saw Uchiha Makoto's slowly opened eyes, and the 3 gouged jade in them had disappeared, and instead a high-speed rotating pattern of 3 flags connected appeared in front of me. Seeing Bei Yan and Uchiha Yaji with these eyes, he immediately understood in his heart. Makoto Uchiha succeeded. Woohoo dash. Uchiha Makoto collapsed weakly on the tatami, and the whole person fell into a state of exhaustion of all his energy. Even the maintenance of the kaleidoscope is squeezing her last spiritual power and chakra. Chung. It worked. Makoto Uchiha's somewhat weak voice sounded. Yes, it worked. Well done, Makoto. Makoto-sama worked hard. Uchiha Yaki's voice had an irrepressible excitement, and even his body trembled slightly. She was genuinely happy that the people she served were able to awaken a kaleidoscope. Bei Yan could clearly feel that at the moment of awakening the kaleidoscope, Uchiha Makoto's strength was successfully upgraded from elite shinobi to shadow level. Although the weight of the opponent's chakra and spiritual power is far from catching up with Bei Yan, this shadow-level strength is real. He uses the palm cactus technique to slightly heal Uchiha Makoto's almost exhausted physical strength and help her recover temporarily. Finally, Makoto Uchiha was able to barely sit up straight. At this moment, her face was still unconcealably excited and flushed. Tell me, what pupil technique have you awakened? For Bei Yan's inquiry, Uchiha Makoto did not hesitate to say it directly. The 2 people present were people she absolutely trusted, and there was no need to worry about betraying her. My right eye is the moon reading, which can pull the other party's spirit into the illusion space, and in the moon reading world, all factors including time, place, quality, etc., are controlled by me. It's just a momentary thing in the outside world, but it's 72 hours in the moon reading space. Speaking of this, Makoto's face showed unprecedented excitement. The Uchiha clan is good at using illusion because of the Sharingan. Now the awakened kaleidoscope pupil moon reading can be said to be one of the pinnacles of illusion. And my right eye, called the Spear of Souls, as far as the eye can see, unleashes the invisible and shadowless spear, directly through space, ignoring all defenses and sealing techniques, and launching a deadly attack on the soul of the enemy. Hearing this, Bei Yan and Uchiha Yachi gasped. The rare soul attack ninjutsu actually appeared again. The last time the spiritual transformation technique appeared, if it were not for Kato's broken body being in a defenseless state after the soul left him, it would eventually lead to the destruction of his physical body and death, interrupting the beginning of his legend. Then, among the strong people who can deter the shinobi world in the future, there will definitely be Kato breaking off. Just with the help of a spiritual technique, a ninjutsu that can directly attack the soul. From this, it can be seen how braided the ninjutsu that can attack the soul is. Mikoto Uchiha Soul Spear is a bit of an alternative Amaterasu. It's all as far as the eye can see, directly through space, to hit the opponent. One is an immortal fire, and the other is a soul piercing. Isn't this a super killing move, to see who dies? Bei Yan decided that he should store these two techniques in his eyes. The monthly reading can be used for the time being, but the soul spear must be. Episode 22. After a brief period of excitement, both Mikoto Uchiha and Aki Uchiha calmed down. They all looked at Bei Yan in unison, and their hearts were filled with infinite emotion. At the beginning, when Bei Yan and Mikoto cooperated, they were still half convinced of the method proposed by Bei Yan. It wasn't until both of them tried it themselves that they decided to let Mikoto continue to hone her pupil power. None of them expected that the kaleidoscope of chakra eyes that used to be like the miracles of their ancestors would really awaken Mikoto now. Uchiha Mikoto felt the qualitative improvement in her body due to the awakening kaleidoscope chakra eye, the quality and quantity of chakra, and even spiritual power. Sure enough, the gap between the shadow level and the elite shinobi is not ordinarily large. While speaking, the kaleidoscope riding wheel eyes that had just dispersed appeared in her eyes again. Because Uchiha Mikoto's kaleidoscope riding wheel eye appeared, Uchiha Aki's three-hook jade riding wheel eye appeared on its own. In Uchiha Yaki's perception, a huge pupil power is radiating from Uchiha Mikoto's kaleidoscope. Especially when facing those eyes, Uchiha subconsciously avoided his gaze. After the two fell silent again, Bei Yan spoke. Mikoto, although the kaleidoscope chakra eye is powerful, it has great drawbacks. Once the kaleidoscope is overused, it will not only cause irreparable damage to your own body, but also make the vision of the kaleidoscope chakra eye weaker and weaker. At the end of the day, you will lose your vision completely, resulting in blindness. When Uchiha Mikoto heard this, her heart was secretly excited, as if she had poured cold water on winter. Freezing cold, Uchiha looked into Uchiha Mikoto's eyes and sighed inwardly. As members of Uchiha's clan, they still have access to the powerful people who have secrets, and naturally they have heard about blindness caused by excessive use of kaleidoscopes. Now Bei Yan personally said that they had to believe the thoughts they were originally unwilling to accept. Just when the atmosphere suddenly dull, Uchiha Mikoto suddenly spoke. It's okay, I can get this eye. I have already broken through my limit. The future is still long, and I won't use these eyes too much when I don't have to. Uchiha Mikoto was a little upset after all, but the drawbacks of this eye were there, and she couldn't accept it. Suddenly, a big hand directly touched the door of Uchiha Mikoto's head. She tilted her head to look at Bei Yan and found that Bei Yan was looking at her with a smile on his face at this time. Seeing Bei Yan's smile, she seemed to see a ray of morning light in the silent night, and her eyes were full of longing. Even Uchiha Yaki looked at Bei Yan with an expectant face. Yan, do you have a way? Yes, I do have a way to keep the kaleidoscope chakra eye from going blind. Eternal kaleidoscope, not only do you not need to replace the kaleidoscope of your loved ones like that book to live, I can stimulate your kaleidoscope chakra eye through another method and let it evolve on the original basis. Yay! As soon as Bei Yan finished speaking, Uchiha Mikoto threw herself on Bei Yan's body, and the whole person was clinging to Bei Yan's arms. Uchiha Mikoto, who had long believed that Bei Yan was omnipotent, was happier than ever at this time. Anyone who, after acquiring a special ability, is told to limit the use and use it carefully, and overuse will directly lose this ability, will feel uncomfortable. Now that Bei Yan has a way to raise this drawback, Uchiha Mikoto and Uchiha Aki are naturally very happy. After Uchiha Mikoto was tired for a while, she didn't ask, but looked at Uchiha Aki, and then at Bei Yan. As soon as he saw her like this, Bei Yan knew what the other party wanted to do. Well, I'll help Yaji improve her pupil power first, and let her evolve the kaleidoscope chakra eye, so that you can have a greater grasp in the family to close people's hearts and ensure your own safety. By the way, Konoha may be a little chaotic during this time, and it is the best time for you to collect your subordinates. As for the Konoha guard, your people have gathered a little during this time, and once you encounter danger, don't run forward stupidly. Run as fast as you want, don't get involved in the battlefield easily. Uchiha Mikoto and Uchiha Aki heard this and nodded solemnly. For Bei Yan's advice, they will definitely follow it. After all, they can have today, of which Bei Yan's credit accounts for most of it. And, Bei Yan said this, pausing slightly. The matter of the Konoha guard, after this turmoil, I will suggest that you implement it, so that they can all restrain their temperament and violence during this time and prepare for the future. Good. The two women nodded seriously. Yan, can you tell us about the root cause of the turmoil? Bei Yan looked at Uchiha Mikoto and Uchiha Aki, thinking that this was not some hidden secret. The 9 tails are about to break the seal. The 2 women were shocked when they heard this. They had not faced the tailed beast directly, but they also knew that even the tail with the fewest tail was not something that ordinary shadow levels could compete with. If the strongest 9 tails causes a riot in Konoha, Konoha is about to face disaster. Thinking of this, Uchiha Makoto and Uchiha Aki looked at each other and knew what to do during this time. But soon, before Uchiha Yaki could get up, she was held by Bei Yan's hand on her shoulders and gently pushed onto the cushion on the ground. Bei Yan's sudden attack made Uchiha Yaji's face rosy at the same time, and his head was confused. How? What's wrong? Bei Yan glanced at her obliquely. Didn't you just say, it's your turn to temper your pupil power, lie down obediently, and don't move? When Uchiha Yaji heard this, the small face that originally belonged to the iceberg could no longer hide the shyness inside, and he covered his face and did not dare to look at Bei Yan. Bei Yan looked at the girl lying beside him, and saw that her indifferent iceberg expression had faded at this time, looking like a frightened deer, and felt funny in his heart. Such a fun girl, it's a pity not to bully. Uchiha Makoto covered her small mouth and walked out of the room with a smile in her eyes. Leave the two to coexist. So, I'm going to start. Bei Yan tried to ask. Uchiha Aki covered his small face and did not speak. After a while, the sound of faint mosquitoes and flies was heard. Because when tempering for the first time, you must fade the prosperity of the world and return to the true self of heaven and earth. Uchiha Yaji covered his pretty face with his small hands throughout the whole process, and he didn't dare to look at Bei Yan. Until an exclamation, Bei Yan put her hand at her side. At this moment, Uchiha Yaji's pretty face slowly coincided with a feeling in Bei Yan's memory. This is Uchiha Izumi? That's not right. Uchiha Izumi has not yet been born, and Uchiha Aki is also mother fetus single. Should I cut off her mother's beard? Episode 23. Bei Yan, who felt that he had done something great last night, returned to the clinic in an inexplicable and happy mood. As always, after Bei Yan encouraged Sunset Red and Noera Rin, he sent shadow doppelgangers to supervise them to the original special training venue for special training. Bei Yan still remembered the resentment towards Bei Yan in their eyes when Noera Lin and Shi Rihong turned to leave. But even so, Bei Yan did not follow. This time is a bit extraordinary. Don't watch him stay in the clinic all day doing nothing, but only he knows that he is really a little busy. Well, busy arranging the Flying Thunder God mark and preparing some things. At this time, Bei Yan took out the ninjutsu scroll that Tsunade had given him last night. Dirt Rebirth is worthy of being called an S-grade forbidden technique. Even if it is just a simple, insumshinshin, sealing method, not many people can learn it. Well, the ape Flying Sun Chopper, known as the Doctor of Ninjutsu, cannot learn to reincarnate in soil, summoner flesh and blood, control of the sealing talisman. I reluctantly cheat. Kaleidoscope open. Bei Yan quickly looked at the rebirth of the dirt, and then tried to cast it. Although there were no items to use as an experiment, he got the hang of it after trying it a dozen times. It's not that hard. The words with a slight versigh came from Bei Yan's mouth. If they were known by people like Sarutobi and Shimura Danzo who disrespected the dead, they might vomit 3 liters of blood. The method of learning the rebirth of dirt is placed in the Hokage's office. How can Danzo, as the darkness of Konoha, not learn it? But never practiced or can't learn. Throughout that meeting, until the 4th Shinobi World War, that is, there were only Senju Kuruma, Orochimaru, Yakushi, and Uchiha Madara Club. Subsequently, he took out a specially made kunai. Quickly sealed, ninjutsu runes that faintly contained Taiji gossip appeared above Kuwu, and then condensed into a strip of paper tied to Kuwu's handle. A person who can control the rebirth of the soil is good at doing so. Only then did Bei Yan slowly close the kaleidoscope writing wheel eye. Learning ninjutsu and manipulating chakra is enhanced with the help of kaleidoscope Sharingan. Immediately, he casually crafted a few more kunai again and put them in his weapon bag. Just as Bei Yan was about to sneak around, a familiar aura appeared outside the door. Come in. As Bei Yan's voice fell, the people outside the door hesitated for a moment and pushed the door open. The visitor was dressed in a green ninja vest, black combat trousers, and bandages on his legs. His face wears a simple floral mask. This is standard for root ninjas. Behind the mask, there is brown-yellow hair, tied into a long ponytail. Looking at the 2 knives of the wearer behind the person, and the calluses that appeared between the shaking of his hands, he could tell that this was a master of using a knife. With the arrival of the root ninja, Bei Yan was not panicked or even afraid at all. Even his posture of leaning back in his chair did not change. The root ninja glanced at Bei Yan and slowly removed his mask. When she took off her mask, it meant that she came in her own capacity, not as a delegation. After taking off the mask, a slightly indifferent pretty face was exposed to Bei Yan's field of vision. Bei Yan was still without waves at this time, and it was obvious that he was no stranger to the person in front of him. Coming? Have a cup of milk tea. While speaking, Bei Yan took out a cup of milk tea from the warm storage box on the side and handed it to the pharmacist Jinayu, and he himself chose frozen. Pharmacist Jinayu did not speak, took Bei Yan's milk tea, and drank it quietly. After waiting for a cup to fall, the indifference on her face finally dissipated somewhat. I haven't been gone for a week or two. Have you gone out on some mission? Yakushi Yinayu nodded, sent by Tuanzang to spy on intelligence in a Wayne village, and intercepted a Shangnan of a Wayne village. She did not hesitate to say her task, and she was not affected at all by the tongue curse seal of Tuanzang's control subordinates. Rather, her tongue curse seal of extinction was lifted by Bei Yan. It is also the removal of controlled ninjutsu that allows it to be unscrupulous. I want to get out of my roots. I feel like I have an opportunity recently, but I am a little confused and don't know what I should do after I get rid of my roots. While speaking, Yakushi Nanoyu curled up in a chair and buried his head in his knees, like a baby. This is a characteristic that manifests itself when one is at its most vulnerable. It can be said that at this time, the medicine master Yinayu's heart is vulnerable, and he longs for a strong arm to rely on. Bei Yan sighed. He didn't expect that Yinayu, a medicine master who was the ace of the root, would also appear like this. The other party is even Yakushi Pocket, one of the bosses of the Fourth Ninja World War in the original time and space, who is regarded as the existence of his mother. But no matter what, as a combat machine, now that he can show this delicate appearance in front of Bei Yan, I have to say that he is also the only trustworthy person in Medicine Master Yinayu. Bei Yan remembered that when he met the other party, he spared no effort to fool the other party to come to him to see a doctor and increase his performance. Now that I have achieved this result, I can count it as an achievement. Want to hear my opinion? Yakushi Yinayu, who was immersed in his own world, was awakened by Bei Yan's words. She looked at Bei Yan with a confused face, and there was almost no light in her eyes. Episode 24. Hearing Bei Yan's advice, pharmacist Yinayu's eyes were bright. For this man who saved himself from the abyss, Yakushi Yinayu has an extraordinary dependence. As an orphan of the war, Yakushi Nanoyu has been brought to the root to fight as Konoha Shadow since he was a child. Danzo's special training method of killing emotions brought only the deepest pain to every root ninja. The ace spy who can grow from a war orphan to a root, even to the point that even Tuanzang is vaguely vigilant, is enough to see how talented he is and how hard he works. Her intelligence competition and acquisition has always been obtained by her own strength, which is very different from those who use their bodies to obtain intelligence. Genius, always alternative, whether it's personal physical fitness or thoughts. A sentence, do I really want to continue this life? The questioning of her heart made her wake up from her numbness, but this awakening is only a short period of return to light. Only a long period of tackling tough problems can precipitate this self-awakening. By chance, he was taken away by Bei Yan, which can be regarded as the luck of the medicine master Yinayu's misfortune. Whoever asked him to randomly pull a young girl with a numb look on the street is the spy trump card of the roots. And this time with Bei Yan was something that Yakushi Yinayu had never experienced. At that time, she felt that her heart was warm, and it was very comfortable and free to stay by each other's side. Especially when the tongue curse seal that bound her was removed, she felt as if she was unburdened and became very relaxed. Well? Yinayu, are you listening? I'm sorry. Yakushi Yinayu, who came back to his senses from his memories, found that Bei Yan on the opposite side was looking at her helplessly. She sighed and apologized for not hearing Bei Yan speak in a daze. No problem, just now you were not simply in a daze, but unconsciously remembering the past. The past of the roots is a painful memory for you, and there is nothing worth your happiness. Judging by the slightly softened smile on your face just now, you are immersed in the happy things of the past. Since you have happy memories, it means that you have your own light in your heart. While speaking, Bei Yan stood up and looked into the distance. Although the smile just now was only a quick glance, he saw an extraordinary motherhood in it. Even the gaze that the other party looked at him now made him feel like he was returning to his mother's embrace. The maternal feelings that medicine master Yinayu has suppressed since childhood are too strong. Do you want to try to take care of the little ones? At least until the age of 3. They are at their most innocent. Hearing this, Yakushi Yinayu's heart suddenly surged with an unprecedented emotion. This emotion is very powerful, directly dissolving the indifference of the medicine master Yinayu's appearance, and the whole person blooms with maternal brilliance. Little children. Yakushi Yinayu didn't know why he had this emotion, but when she went, she seemed to find the direction of her life, and her eyes looked at Bei Yan brightly. I want to try. The words were filled with unprecedented firmness and expectation. Maybe even she didn't find out about it. Today's medicine master Yinayu, the whole person is like a kind old mother, and maternal love is overflowing. Bei Yan saw the change in medicine master Yinayu, and was slightly shocked. This brilliance that blooms from people is just a little too much. In the body of the medicine master Nanoyu, he feels the other party's deeper and more selfless love than Yukiha. Not to Bei Yan, but to a group. Is this a bottoming out after suppression, or is it originally rare in the world? Bei Yan muttered, unable to reach a conclusion. I want to leave the roots. Well, then what? Yakushi Yinayu tapped his chin and thought of the place he had reluctantly left. I want to fit into the orphanage built on the northwest border, where there should be a place for me. This is the first time that Yakushi no has said what he wants. But soon, she looked worried. As the trump card of the root spy, she knows that if she wants to appear in that place with integrity, it is absolutely impossible. Even if he negotiates with Tuanzong and makes various promises, he will eventually be disposed of by Tuanzong. Orphanages are affected. That wasn't what she wanted to see. After so many years in the roots, she clearly understood how ruthless and selfish Tuanzo was. Looking at Bei Yan with a slightly painful gaze and melancholy, Medicine Master Yunayu laughed at himself. Not bad, today is your most emotionally changing day. Bei Yan's nonsensical words made the Medicine Master Yunayu, who was originally immersed in his lonely little world, come back to his senses. Well, a nasal word that smashed countless question marks towards Bei Yan. Instead of continuing what he had just said, he returned to the point. Bei Yan, trust me? Medicine Master Yunayu nodded without hesitation. If Bei Yan is not worthy of her belief, then there is no one in the world worthy of her trust. Episode 25. Bei Yan, the route is there, don't go back. Yakushi Yunayu, good, she readily agreed. Go to Uchiha, I have a little relationship there, and a couple of children and mother's orphans from the war, maybe you can settle down there. Good. Although Yakushi Yunayu does not know where Bei Yan came from with Uchiha relationship, since the other party decided to take her in, then she could not cause trouble to the other party. Thinking of this, Yakushi Yunayu walked into the closed treatment room. I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional. The door is not closed. When the Medicine Master Nonoyu walked out again, he was wearing a black and white nun gown, and a white hood was over his head. Nuns? Is it? It's really fitting. Bei Yan was amazed and gave a thumbs up. Very good, thank you. He came to the side of the Medicine Master Yunayu, and in the surprised expression of the other party, he stretched out his right hand in front of the other party. Well, just think of it as a talisman I gave you. Where do you want me to burn this technique? As an upper ninja, Yakushi Yunayu's eyesight is very powerful, and at a glance, he can see that this is the legendary Flying Thunder God art imprint. She thought left and right for a while, lifted the hem of her skirt, and showed the position to be marked in front of Bei Yan. Bei Yan, are you sure this is here? Well, it was the first time that Yakushi Yunayu was so bold. Since this was the talisman that Bei Yan had given her, she wanted to put it in her holiest place. Okay, with a soft snort, the rune engraved with Bei Yan's exclusive Flying Thunder God art appeared on the Medicine Master Yunayu. The mark of the Flying Thunder God technique is a bit extraordinary. As long as the strength does not break through to the 6th level, then it is impossible to eliminate. Yakushi Nonoyu maybe. Probably. I probably don't know about it. No longer entangled in these too much, Bei Yan, after communicating with Uchiha Makoto and Uchiha Aki, used the Flying Thunder God technique to take the Medicine Master Nono to the intended place. When Yakushi Nono met Makoto and Aki, the three of them actually had a feeling of hating each other. After some exchanges, Makoto decided to place Nonoyu in the warm house proposed by Katayan. It is called warm house because only there can people inside feel the warmth of home. Although this home is a bit big, warm homes are made up of families who have lost both or one parent during war or missions. When children grow up, that is, when they reach the age of 5 or 6, they need to leave the warm home and return to live in their own house. Of course, if you are free on weekdays, the warm house still welcomes the partners who leave to come and play. It is worth mentioning that those who settle in this big family are either children who have lost their parents, or children who only have mothers. The phenomenon of a large number of women is also the reason why there are more men than women on the battlefield in this era. When the Medicine Master Nanoyu came to the warm house as an outsider, not only was he not excluded, but he was very popular with everyone. After Bei Yan, not much attention was paid to these. For him, the treatment of Yakushi Nonoyu can step into the last stage. Sure enough, Tuanzong, this old go, is simply inhuman. The root was founded shortly after Sarutobi became a third-generation order. So far, I don't know how many innocent ninjas have been persecuted and how many people have paid for his selfishness. However, when he thought of Tuanzong doing the most disgraceful thing, the scenery was all harvested by the ape flying sun at the same time as himself. Presumably, if he could, Tuanzong would definitely kill the ape flying sun. Bei Yan shook his head with a chuckle. No matter how Tuanzong is, he doesn't need to be pitiful or whitewashed. No, and it's not necessary. Well, is it so lively today? He discovers that the perceptual ninjutsu he set up in the clinic has been set off. This is a very simple trigger feedback ninjutsu, without any aggression or damage, and is a common perception technique used in some ninja shops. After saying hello to Yaji, Bei Yan disappeared in place. When he reappeared, he was already lying on a chair. Feeling a gloomy chakra walking to the door, Bei Yan had probably guessed who it was. Tuk tuk. The other party knocked politely on the door. Well, come in. Bei Yan's words fell, and a pale figure with long hair appeared behind the door. The most striking thing is the slightly golden snake-like eyes. Beyond its snake pupils, at the opposite corner of the eyes, there is a purple silhouette, adding a bit of mystery and melancholy to it. The one who came was none other than the famous Snake Mother. No, today's big snake Pill is still a man's body, and he has not changed his body. Or Uncle Snake. Big Snake Pill, it's really a distinguished guest. Bei Yan did not get up, and looked at the Big Snake Pill as always. When Bei Yan looked at each other, the Big Snake Pill also looked at Bei Yan. Long time no see, Bei Yan. Having experienced the Second Ninja World War and the death of his own parents, he now has the rudimentary appearance of a person who is neither a ghost nor a ghost in the future. He naturally sat on the chair and did not speak, just smiled and looked at Bei Yan. Bei Yan was looked at by the somewhat frustrated gaze of the Big Snake Pill, and he was full of energy. Say, is there something wrong with coming to me this time? Episode 26. Alas, Bei Yan, as a psychiatrist, did not expect to be so indifferent in the face of patients who came to the door. Hearing the ridicule of the Big Snake Pill, Bei Yan's head was full of black lines. Don't you know what is your own situation? If it's really good to fool. Ahem, if it can really be treated, Bei Yan would have done his best long ago. For the Great Snake Pill's extremely persistent attitude towards immortality, and even unscrupulous methods for this, Bei Yan could only find another way. Orochimaru is worthy of being the first scientist in the ninja world, and in the following conversation, he reflects his good qualities as a scientist everywhere. And what surprised the Big Snake Pill the most was that his original ideas were a little fantastic, but most of them were confirmed here in Bei Yan. He was even able to use Bei Yan's analysis to make further planning. If the Big Snake Pill has a scientific and technological thinking that has surpassed the ninja world for several years or even 10 years, that Bei Yan has a wise man who has surpassed the vision of the ninja realm for 50 or even hundreds of years. Of course, it's all about technology. The more they talked, the more ecstatic Orochimaru's heart became. Although many of them are spoken orally by Bei Yan, there is no specific scientific basis. However, as a scientist, the Great Snake Pill could get a lot of inspiration from Bei Yan's words. These alone were enough to make the Big Snake Pill feel satisfied. He even wondered if Bei Yan was really a psychiatrist. Are you sure it's not a more senior researcher than him? Since a year ago, after Orochimaru, who was traumatized by war, came to this clinic for treatment, he had an unusual yearning for this place. Of course, it is not to Bei Yan itself, nor to what is coveted inside. He was more excited than ever to be able to replenish his inspiration here. If others come to Bei Yan to see a doctor because of personal emotional lack or depression, that Big Snake Pill is completely another level of psychotherapy. That's right, Bei Yan is now helping the Big Snake Pill broaden his horizons, which can also be regarded as a kind of psychotherapy. For example, now that the research level of the Big Snake Pill is still limited to the cellular level, Bei Yan will briefly talk to him about the genetic level at the more microscopic level. This alone made the Big Snake Pill feel unprecedented satisfaction. He still remembers the excitement on the other party's face when he was talking about gene transcription, translation, and gene expression. If it weren't for the fact that his strength was not weak at that time, the other party might have tied himself back directly as a bodhisattva offering. It's terrifying. The time lasted for 3 or 4 hours, until Bei Yan really didn't want to say any more, and the Big Snake Pill sighed. It's a pity. If Bei Yan can join my team, maybe there has been an earth-shaking technological reform in the ninja world by now. I'm so unwilling. The Big Snake Pill showed a fairly gentle smile, and said from the bottom of his heart, he may keep in mind those who can beat him, thinking that one day he will surpass the other party. But in the face of people who can provide him with a source of thought, it is with a little respect. Don't look at the gloomy appearance of the Big Snake Pill. He will do his best to handle the request made by Bei Yan. Before Bei Yan, he asked the other party to do him a small favor. Although it eventually caused the route to lose more than a dozen Zongnin and Shangnin, the Big Snake Pill also took a lot of strength. But that was the reward that Bei Yan asked for from the Big Snake Pill. The Big Snake Pill did not have any objections, but felt that the blood was earned. Although he cooperated with Danzo, but isn't the partner used to pit? Isn't it just killing a dozen root ninjas? What a big deal. So, what does Bei Yan want this time? The Big Snake Pill looked at Bei Yan before leaving. Bei Yan thought for a moment and shook his head slightly. Not yet, I'll let you know when I need it. Okay, then we'll see you next time. After that, Orochimaru left with a smile on his face. Well, he came and left in an upright manner. Looking at the Big Snake Pill that finally left, Bei Yan was shocked in his heart. It's not easy to finally send away a research madman. If it weren't for the fact that he remembered a little understanding of the development of the biological side and the technological side, it would really be difficult to paste. Ahem, it's not good to communicate. But Bei Yan thought that after every consultation with the Big Snake Pill, he could get a relatively large check in reward, and his mood suddenly improved a lot. Bei Yan, who had nothing to do for a while, simply went back to Makoto's for lunch, and continued to return to the clinic to stay. Of course, the 2 little girls who are in special training are in good condition and have not had any accidents. On the other side, after leaving the clinic, the Big Snake Pill returned to his underground research room non-stop. He has an open research room on the surface, and that one is used to study something that is not illegal. And this underground research room does not belong to itself, and the investors of one of the parties have the existence of Danzo. Sure enough, my previous method of simply transfusing blood or implanting cells with experimental subjects was really too crude, he said as he carefully put on his research clothes. For research, he is serious. Immediately, the big snake pill looked at the blood succession limit cells that he was originally going to directly implant into an experimental subject, and decided to optimize the treatment. At the very least, not being able to implant cells directly is a wasteful and brainless act. Episode 27. After a day and a night of tinkering, I used various small ninjutsu to build an instrument that resembled a microscope. The biggest feature of this instrument is that it can see not only the cell level, but also the gene level. Even after a period of transformation, it can move to a deeper structure. This suddenly made the big snake pill crazy. He made up his mind that he couldn't turn his face with Bei Yan with anyone. If others kill, they will kill, but it is just an experimental material. But Bei Yan is the mentor who supports his research to a higher level. A few words from the other party can make him think through. He couldn't imagine it. If one day your thinking is exhausted, can you really find someone with advanced scientific vision to mention yourself? As for his real teacher, Ape Flying Sun, thinking of his teacher, the big snake pill just let out a light, and did not pay attention to it again. But a simple tone word expresses disdain and contempt. Although there are still 2 villages left in the 3 shinobi, they have never returned after the Second Ninja World War. It is said that he wants to teach students outside, but he will not be able to spare time to return to Konoha. There is only one grandmother left in the Tsunade family, and the reason why she does not leave is that she still has one last concern. As for the Great Snake Pill, he has not yet rebelled against the village. In other words, it is Sarutobi Hinata and Shimura Danzo who can still tolerate the Great Snake Pill, and they don't need him to defect. Teacher, you are really hypocritical. A light sigh came from the mouth of the big snake pill, and silence returned to the research room again. Only the sound of him constantly operating the instrument echoed around. The big snake pill stayed there for 3 or 4 hours. In the Hokage office, the 3 generations of apes flew into the clouds and mist, and thick shisha filled the entire office, blurring the vision. In front of him, kneeling on one knee, or a ninja dressed in a dark vest and mask. It is clear that the ape flying sun chop has begun irregular surveillance operations again. Thinking of his disciple, or his 3 disciples, he had mixed feelings. He also said that he would teach new disciples, and he had not returned once in the years since the Second Ninja World War. I don't know if I resent myself as a teacher, or have other ideas. Although Tsunade of his own teacher's family, the Senju clan, was still in Konoha, after returning from the Second Shinobi War, he resigned as the director of Konoha Hospital and the leader of the medical team, as well as all other positions. Now he only stays in the land of the thousand hands, and rarely goes out. Even if a patient who cannot be cured comes to the door to seek medical treatment, the other party will only propose a treatment course, do not personally intervene, and then close the door and disappear. He naturally knew the dirty things he had done, but how could the ape fly sun / admit it? Even many times, the ape flying sun chop will comfort himself with those who do great things are not informal. The last big snake pill. From the beginning, the ape flying sun chop regarded the other party as his own successor to cultivate. But helplessly, as he stayed in a high position for a long time, Ape Fei Richo became more greedy for power. The treatment he enjoys now, he also wants to let his family inherit the title of Hokage. Among them, what he likes the most is his eldest son. There is also the big snake pill who is a little wrong after returning from the Second Ninja World War, immersed in experimental research that will be spurned by the entire ninja world after exposure. This led to the complete loss of opportunities for the future scheduled successor, the Great Snake Pill. Sarutobi took another deep breath of hookah. He picked up the information he had sent over to guard the next candidate of the Pillar Force candidate 10 minutes ago. Fortunately, it was not very urgent, and he was able to have enough time to prepare. It's been an eventful time. Ape Fei sighed softly. At this time, if there is no accident, there should be an accident. Sure enough, boom, the door to Hokage's office was violently pushed open, and Danzo's figure appeared in it. Sarutobi took another deep breath of shisha, and the smoke muffled his anger. The dark ninja who was reporting saw the 3 generations of Hokage waving his hand, suddenly stopped speaking, and disappeared in place. When only Sarutobi Hinata and Shimura Danzo were left in the entire office, the 2 talked a little unscrupulously. The next person Julie has been targeted. This is what you mean by experience? I said at the beginning, by handing over the Uzumaki Kushina to me, Konoha will definitely be able to produce an ultimate weapon that surpasses the shadow level. When Ape Fei heard this, he directly acted deaf and ignored Tuanzang's speech. This is the old man's decision. The old man will be responsible, and he will also bring Joshinai back safely. I also believe that after Joshinai has his own place in his heart, he will definitely be able to perfectly seal and control the 9 tails. For what Sarutobi said, Tuanzang did not agree with it at all. It's ridiculous, the heroic rescue link you arranged at the beginning was not stillborn in the end. When Ape Fei heard this, he looked a little embarrassed. Episode 28. 8 months ago, Sarutobi had spiritual sustenance when he controlled the Nine Tails in order to better control Joshinai. He specially arranged for himself and his clansmen to pretend to be ninjas from the outer village and infiltrate Konoha to kidnap Joshinai, then let Buffing Shui men go to the rescue and make a good story. However, the plan was stillborn before it even began, because the few people who pretended to be ninjas in the outer village happened to run into Joshinai staying with Bei Yan. At that time, Joshinai had just finished psychotherapy at Bei Yan. The two of them ran into this drama in the spirit that it was so late that it was better to go out to have a meal together. In the end, Bei Yan and Joshinai combined their efforts to seriously injure the few upper ninja who could not perform powerful ninjutsu. Even one of the three died from his injuries. The other two are also wasted. The person who booked did not complete the hero saving the beauty, but Bei Yan completed the hero saving the beauty. It even made Uzumaki Joshinai feel strange. After the members of the Dark Department arrived, they directly ordered to clean up these ninjas, and then left. Haoji was not discovered by the rest of the family, it was the Sarutobi clan and the Shimura clan. From that moment on, the plan was declared bankrupt. Wei Fengshui men, who received the cancellation of the mission, had been waiting outside the Konoha gate for a while, and could leave at any time, but the sudden termination made him stunned. So what, Bei Yan, I think it's better, and even he is more suitable than Watergate. That was the conclusion he came to that day. Ape Flying Sun Chopper does not easily stick his face out for others to beat. Especially Tuanzong, it is even more impossible. Tuanzong was short of breath. Hoof, I don't care what. This time when Joshinai comes back, I will bring her into the root, where it is most suitable for her, suitable for the evil chakra of the Nine Tails. Before Tuanzong finished speaking, Ape Flying Sun Chopper directly interrupted him. I don't need you to make a move. Joshinai is a person cultivated by the old man, so he can only stay with me. Danzo, you don't have the ability to control the Nine Tails at all, leave it to me, I can. Danzo, I am the Hokage. Ape Flying Sun Chopper said this almost furiously, which immediately made Tuanzong, who still wanted to say something, stunned in place. Immediately, it was like encountering a cat and a mouse, and the whole person exploded. He blushed and pointed at the Ape Flying Sun, unable to say a word in anger. He turned and slammed the door out. Ape Fly, you will regret it. The loud shouts of Tuanzong came from outside the door, causing the dark members who were secretly guarding to lower their heads, not daring to easily blend in. Ape Fei let out a mouthful of thick fog, not paying much attention to Tuanzang's words. Coming, huh? Two dark ninjas immediately appeared in front of their desks and knelt down on one knee, ready to deliver instructions. Let Wave Fengshuimon, Katayan, Hinata Kensuk, Narashika Hiza, Akimichi Choza, and Yamanaka Haichi come here as quickly as possible. At the same time, a team of dark members cancelled their vacation and gathered in the Hokage office, ready to go at any time. Yes. Asterisk 2. The two members of the Dark Department obeyed the order and instantly disappeared in place. Ape Fei exhaled a mouthful of white smoke, and there was worry and killing intent between his eyebrows. Uzumaki Joshinai is definitely not to be lost. Now close to Uzumaki Mito, she is also her own teacher. Its limit is approaching, and all kinds of cows, ghosts, snakes, and gods will emerge. To deter, he has to be tough. After all, this is about Konoha's deterrent power, and he can still handle these important things. Bei Yan was pushing the door out at this time, preparing to go out to the Uchiha clan land and copy Makoto's two kaleidoscopic pupils. But as soon as he closed the door, a figure appeared silently behind him. However, when the other party appeared nearby, he found it with his own perception. Lord Bei Yan, Lord Hokage has given an urgent task. Please go to the Hokage's office immediately to concentrate. The dark words of the notice were respectful, and it was obvious that he had heard of the daimyo of Bei Yan. Okay, wait a few minutes for me to tidy up, and it will pass soon. Bei Yan nodded to him, and immediately opened the door again and walked into the clinic. The dark part nodded and then disappeared. As soon as the door was closed, Bei Yan's figure appeared in his own room on the 3rd floor. He then put on a black combat suit with a long knife pinned to his back, and several weapon bags and scrolls around his waist. After doing all this, Kataya uses ninjutsu to inform Tsunade and Mikoto that he will be away for a while. Then, he set off for Hokage's office. Along the way, Bei Yan was guessing what had happened and needed to summon him there. When Bei Yan saw the Wave Fengshui gate, the Hyuga clan, and now the younger generation of Inuga butterfly trio coming from a distance in front of the Hokage building, he had a guess in his heart. It should be about Joshinai. The flying thunder god mark that he engraved on Joshinai's body did not sense that the other party had suffered any damage, and the spirit would occasionally be tired from running for a long time, but it was not a big problem. But I know that it has been several days now, and I still haven't come back. It now appears that the way back is blocked. Someone didn't want her back. As for who it is nothing more than the ninjas of the rest of the ninja village. Walking on the road leading to Hokage's office, several people who had already caught up greeted Bei Yan. Episode 29. Bei Yan, even you are here this time? It seems that our squad does not have to worry about injuries. I don't know what the task is, so I was hurriedly asked to come over. A man with a high and short ponytail scratched his head and stepped forward to greet Bei Yan, Narashika father of Narashikamaru in the future Konoha 12 strongmen. He had always been troublesome, and he took the initiative to greet Bei Yan. You know, he hates to be sociable the most. Although he is still very young and does not look mature enough, he has to talk about stratagems and be serious enough to play everyone to death. Narashika will act as the commander-in-chief of the entire Ninja World Army during the 4th Ninja World War in the future, and he is a super brain that can command everyone. Such an IQ is terrifying. Bei Yan, it's been a long time. One of them, who was following Narashika, was a young man with a golden ponytail named Yamanaka Haichi. If Narashika is the strongest brain, he is the strongest correspondent. In the 4th Ninja World War, Yamanaka Haichi once connected hundreds of thousands of ninjas in a short time, and it is not an exaggeration to say that he is the strongest communication soldier. On the other side, a very strong man shook his explosive head and showed a heroic smile to Bei Yan. Bei Yan, when will you come to me to eat barbecue? This is the attacker in the Inuga Butterfly Squad, responsible for the high attack output of Akimichi Dingza. The 3 people who will be famous in the entire ninja world in the future stepped forward to greet Bei Yan in a friendly manner. These 3 people have all gone to Bei Yan to consult psychological problems. As young people, they will naturally get acquainted with each other very quickly. Bei Yan stepped forward with a smile and high-fived him one by one. Long time no see. When will your friends be free to come to me for treatment? It's not a matter of always letting you pass on the message. Come to me in person, and I'll give them a 20-fold discount. Ahem. As soon as Bei Yan's words fell, the 3 of them coughed violently. Without replying, he walked as quickly as he could to the Hokage's office. Bei Yan sensed that 2 other people behind him had also rushed up, but he was not familiar with another Hyuga clan except for the Wave Feng Shui Gate. In addition, there are many entanglements between him and Bluffing Shui men. Bei Yan will not take the initiative to greet the other party. Bluffing Shui men looked at Bei Yan's back, and had many things to say for a while, but in the end, he just opened his mouth and did not speak. Soon, the 6 people stood in the Hokage office in unison, watching the 3 generations of Hokage ape flying in the sun with a mysterious color shrouded in smoke. Ape Fei-san's gaze fell on Bei Yan first. Looking at the other party's heroic and reverent eyes, he was very satisfied. Of course, this is just Bei Yan's deliberate performance, and he has long rolled his eyes in his heart. As a psychiatrist, the maxim that the eye is the window of the soul is completely nullified. Then, Sarutobi looked at the rest of the people and immediately began his speech. An important member of Konoha village, Uzumaki Joshinai, was intercepted and attacked by Iwahide village and Yunin village during his outing experience, and his life is likely to be in danger. This is provoking our Konoha's bottom line, and it is also trampling on the dignity of our Konoha village. If we can't even guarantee the necessary deterrence and reliance on the clansmen who go out to practice, then we. At length, I talked for a while. Nara Lugio heard the pain in his brain, and Bei Yan also shrugged his eyes slightly, but their gazes all looked at Bei Yan casually, and occasionally swept past the Feng Shui Gate. It is no secret that Uzumaki Joshinai and Bei Yan get along happily, and it is no secret that they behave intimately. In the eyes of outsiders, this is Lang's intention, to have a concubine, but the problem is that someone wants to step in. That's Bluffing Shui men. They were also very surprised when they heard about it. Bluffing Shui men, who has always been mild-tempered, well-behaved, and gifted, how could he do something in vain attempt to snatch love? Many people who know Vortex Joshinai and Bei Yan know in their hearts that Bluffing Shui men is just self-inflicted humiliation and absolutely cannot succeed. Sure enough, when Uzumaki Joshinai showed some good feelings for her in the Wave Feng Shui Gate, he directly revealed the other party's careful thinking in front of everyone. Immediately after that, she refused and said that she did not like sissy and did not like Bluffing Shui men. The speech is quite irritable, and I can't wait to cut it off. It is worthy of a bright red pepper. At that moment, Bluffing Shui men's heart was broken. Even if Bluffing Shui men tries to make himself strong and sunny, it will not help. The ape-flying son, who was telling the story, knew the urgency of the matter, and he immediately went down to the task. This time the 6 of you are a group, and the main task is to safely lead Uzumaki Shina back to Konoha. I allow you to use all means at your disposal. Among them, Narashika is the temporary squad leader. In addition, there will be a team of members of the Dark Department following you. Their task is to take charge of the break. All you need to do is build more defenses and return to Konoha as safely as possible. Bei Yan, you have to restrain your emotions. You and Joshinai are the most familiar in the team, and you must let her return safely. Mission rating, grade S, above, yes. *6. Well, go ahead. With the order of the ape flying sun, Bei Yan and the others instantly disappeared in place. After a while, he reappeared, already standing at the gate of Konoha village. After being allowed to go, the group of 6 people and the members of the dark department who followed secretly walked non-stop towards the direction of the destination. Episode 30. The trees galloped backwards, and 6 figures jumped quickly through the jungle. While hurrying, Narashikahiza, who was the captain, had already become serious and began to issue orders. The object we are going to rescue is now trapped in the land of sound with several members of the dark department who are secretly protecting, which is barely the junction of the land of earth and the land of thunder. It is estimated that this time, neither side will send a shadow-level powerhouse, and we will be responsible for resisting and counterattacking all confrontations. I, Haichi, and Dingza are responsible for pinning down the enemy in the rear, as the second team in addition to the dark part. Kensu Kanata, your wide-eye perception and jutsu are suitable for long-range detection and close attacks. Wei Feng Shui Men, as the only one who has learned the art of flying thunder god, you are very mobile. You temporarily form a third line of defense to defend against the enemies who break through the dark and the 3 of us, as well as to prevent the little mouse from tracking. As for Bei Yan, Jioshinai will ask you. Yes. 5. Nara Shikaku is worthy of being the commander of the entire Ninja World Alliance in the future, and soon there is a simple division of labor according to the characteristics of each person. Although at someone's behest, Wufeng Shui Men wanted to compete for Bei Yan's task, but he is not a fool with a frighteningly low IQ and EQ, and he knows that if he says it at such a time, it will definitely not end well. Coupled with this time, he who has been rejected has also slowly communicated some things. A strong twisted melon is not sweet, and even he does not have the strength and background of a strong twist. Moreover, Wufeng Shui Men, whose personality is quite idealistic, is resistant to this deliberate expression of emotion. Bei Yan, as one of the parties, is not aware of Wufeng Shuimen's complex mind today. When he set out, he was always looking for opportunities, a chance to get out. Looking at the dense forest that appeared in front of him, Bei Yan had a determination in his heart. Haha, several bursting sounds plunged into the sea of trees, and then flew out. Neither the other 5 members of the squad nor the 12 members of the Dark Division who secretly followed them noticed any changes in Bei Yan. When the 2 groups left far away, a figure appeared on the treetops. This figure is Bei Yan, and just following the team was Bei Yan's shadow doppelganger. He also didn't worry that his shadow doppelganger would be discovered. As long as it is not directly attacked by a shadow-level powerhouse, the shadow avatar will not easily dissipate. I won't accompany you to walk slowly. Oh? Can't wait. Bei Yan made a one-handed seal, flying thunder god's art. In the blink of an eye, Bei Yan disappeared in place. The land of sound, among the nameless mountains. Woohoo-ha. In a hidden place, all 5 of them gasped for air, and their bodies were a little out of strength. One of the red-haired girls had anger in her eyes. She would have done a good job on a mission outside. However, when he was about to finish up, he was told to return to the village immediately. You know, it was an A-level task that she had done with great difficulty. However, when she sensed that there were other hidden village ninjas who wanted to disadvantage her, she decisively followed the advice that Bei Yan told her. If you can't beat it, you can slip away. That's what she thinks and does what she does. Along the way, as she gets closer and closer to the border of the Fire Nation, she encounters more and more ninjas, and becomes more and more powerful. The 2 ninjas who originally accompanied him, a woman and a man, were now injured a lot. They were all there to protect Jioshinai's injuries. Because both of them were injured, the dark part hidden in the dark also had to come out to help. Fortunately, the level of protection of the 3rd generation Hokage for Uzumaki Shinai is high enough. 2 elite upper ninja level dark captains. Not only that, but the eldest uncle of the other 2 companions who followed her on a mission on the bright side was named Kosuka. You may not have heard his name much, but this is the only one of the strongest Konoha shinobi who has received ninjutsu instruction from the 2nd generation Hokage at the same time, the title of Kami Ninja from the 3rd generation Hokage, the 4th generation Hokage to bandage his injuries, and the 5th generation Hokage to ask him to patrol the border. Strength is also at the elite upper ninja level. Although because the age is close to 50, the physical function has declined, and the strength has weakened somewhat, but it is still the elite upper ninja level. As for the other girl, she is a member of Jioshinai's temporary team, a few years older than her, and her strength is stronger than Jioshinai. We are surrounded. Kosuka is worthy of being a ninja who has been favored by 2 generations of Hokage, and through subtle analysis and perception, he knows the current situation. But even if he was about to face death, he did not panic at all, but became more and more calm. The 2 dark elite shinobu looked at Kosuka, and they were faintly dominated by it. They agreed with Kosuka's words. I'm sorry, I hurt you. Gasping for breath, Uzumaki Jioshinai felt very guilty in his heart. If it weren't for her weakest strength, everyone would have to take care of her safety. Maybe they would have been able to return to the land of fire a long time ago. Especially seeing that both Kosuka and Rika were injured, they felt a little sad and self-blamed. Although she is known as a bright red pepper and has a strong temperament, she is also a knowledgeable and reasonable person. Ha ha ha, Jioshinai, you don't have to feel guilty and sad, this is what we should do. Rather, if something goes wrong with you, then we won't have the face to go back to Konoha. For the identity of Uzumaki Gyoshinai, the other 4 people present were very clear. Before they came out on the mission, they had accepted a secret conversation with Hokage, knowing that the current situation was quite probable. They have long been ready, once targeted, directly abandon everything else, and also bring back the determination of Uzumaki Gyoshinai safely.